Alright, what's happening, y'all, man? Just came out with the Sam Howell draft pick review video. I think it's about time we talk about all of the guys taken around them. Everybody else we've taken so far in day 3 other than round 7, which will be coming up soon. We're not there yet, so by the time you watch this video, we probably would have made those picks already. I'll talk about those picks in a separate video, and then of course I'm gonna do an overall draft grade for the entire draft, go pick by pick and explain my reasoning and all of that type of stuff. So but this video is about the round 4 pick, 113th overall, Percy Butler, safety from Louisiana. We're going to talk about Sam Howell a little bit because I already did a whole separate video on him, but we'll talk about him a little bit. We're also going to talk about Cole Turner, tight end from Nevada, who we took in the 5th round with our 149th overall pick. And just like I said in the Sam Howell video, when you look back at it in hindsight, I'm just one of those guys that I love blue chip players. I prioritize that over really anything else. So I'd probably still take Jameson Williams or Kyle Hamilton, but this is literally the next best thing, especially overtaking Chris Olave at 11, trading back. And when we traded back, we ended up getting Jahan Dotson, who I think has the potential to end up being better than Chris Olave straight up, just comparing them mano a mano. And then with those picks that we got from trading back, we also finessed that with a trade back with the Panthers as well. So us moving from 11 to 16 and then moving back once again later in the draft, all of those picks resulted in us getting Jahan Dotson, Brian Robinson, the running back, Sam Howell, the quarterback, and Cole Turner, the tight end. I mean, that's amazing. And so in this video, along with when I do my overall draft breakdown video, give my grade and go pick by pick, like the official 30-minute video and all of that I do every year as a review, the main thing I want to talk about is how early these guys may even be able to contribute, because I think like Percy Butler is a high ceiling guy, but he'll definitely contribute in special teams very early for sure. That's his floor. Elite special teams player, arguably the best special teams player in the draft. And we're going to talk about what Chris Sims and other people have said about Percy Butler as well, as to why he may end up being a huge steal in the 4th round as a safety pick as well, outside of just the fact that he's an elite special teams player. But then we're also going to talk about Sam Howell and how likely he is to contribute early on, maybe in his rookie season or later. Is he a potential franchise quarterback? And then also Cole Turner. Is he a day 1 starter? How soon will it be before he's able to contribute to this team in a big way? And so before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Like I've said in all my videos, on my live streams, I will be doing film sessions for every player we bring in, even undrafted free agents. And if we bring in some free agents afterwards, like a Tyrann Mathieu, doubt it happens, but just anybody that's coming from a different team, I'm gonna do a film session on them as well. I might as well just go ahead and do an Andrew Norwell film session at some point too, but that will be for channel members only. Now I do want to do at least like a Sam Howell and a Jahan Dotson film session, and maybe 1 or 2 other guys that I do for everybody, where I like actually take the 8 to 10 hours to really edit everything and organize it. But the raw and edited film sessions, I'm literally just popping on the tape and we're just doing a live reaction as I go, breaking down everything. I mean, it's still a film session where I'm pausing and rewinding and going in slow motion at times, but it's minimal editing, so I'm able to just get those out easily, quickly, and just back to back even if I have to. So channel members will get every film session, every player that we bring in as of Thursday, including even just veteran free agents. Whereas if you're not a channel member, you're gonna get some of the most important ones. I'm gonna try to get as many of those done as possible. So if you're not a channel member, definitely go become one. And without further ado, let's get it. All right, so I also want to talk about like some ceilings and some potential comps as well. And starting with Percy Butler, I think his situation is really interesting because first of all, comp wise, people are basically saying he's diet Daxton Hill. He's way less proven Daxton Hill, but almost as athletic, maybe a little less smooth as far as like hips and footwork and the ability to change direction. But he's basically just smaller school, rawer version of Daxton Hill. because some people argue that he's the best free safety in the draft as far as range goes, just the best pure free safety. We're going to talk about how Chris Sims said that, and how he even felt the same way before we took him and had him as one of his top 5 safeties in the draft. So to get him in the 4th is just enormous value there, depending on who you ask though, because Chris Sims is definitely one of those people that's highest on him. But then there's other people who feel like his best ability is to man cover in the slot. So people are literally just basically saying he's baby Daxton Hill. We missed out on Daxton Hill, and so, you know, Mom, I want McDonald's. We got McDonald's at home, so instead of Daxton Hill, we got Percy Butler at home waiting on us. And I'm excited to see how that works, because I think as a floor, at the very least, he immediately replaces Troy Apke if you don't want to deal with him anymore, or you just have 2 really good gunners on special teams. But I mean, people out here saying that Percy Butler is the best special teams player in the draft. Daniel Jeremiah literally said, quote, best special teams coverage player in the entire draft, unquote. A dominant gunner. He even said it himself. He said, quote, I feel like I can play every special teams position, all 4 of them, but my favorite special teams has got to be punt coverage. And that's exactly what Daniel Jeremiah sees in him. So as a floor, he's going to be an elite gunner. Remember, I mean, even with Troy Apke, we brought in Terry McLaurin to be a gunner. So apparently, as an organization, we do want 2 really great gunners, because those can be game changing. You saw how the 49ers literally beat the Packers with special teams. So special teams definitely still do matter, and the Washington Commanders clearly covet those type of players, and so they'll probably keep Troy Apke and just add this guy, and now we have 2 elite gunners. I like Cam Sims as a gunner as well, but if he's going to contribute more as a receiver, they may have him doing that a little bit less, because I mean, 2 years ago when he was hurt for a really long time, it was him trying to make a play on special teams. I think it was like week 1, 2 of the regular season. So they may try to avoid making him do that, because even though he is a really good gunner and just really good in special teams in general, being 6'5", anything can happen. Granted, anything can happen to any player on special teams, especially as a gunner, because they're literally just asking you to run into brick walls, basically, and make all kinds of crazy plays that they just wouldn't ask anybody else to do. But being 6'5" just has to make you more of an injury risk as far as that goes. But going back to Chris Sims, first of all, before the draft even happened, you know how Chris Sims ranks his top 5 players at each position, and he's one of those guys that's sneakily right about a lot of things, like quarterbacks. He'll be super off the regular beaten path. Like everybody else, as far as media goes, and draft analysts will have a certain, you know, general top 5 that everybody agrees on. Chris Sims will go the completely opposite way and have a completely different top 5 in that position group, and then he ends up being right later on down the line. So when he says that Percy Butler is literally his 5th favorite safety in this class, he said, quote, this is my off the radar guy. And if you go listen to his podcast, he breaks down why he likes him so much. I mean, I'm inclined to kind of believe him. I'm going to take it with a grain of salt, because I do feel like there's a reason he made it to the 4th round, and there's definitely some raw elements to him. And again, I don't want to compare him to Daxton Hill. He's basically died Daxton Hill. He's unproven Daxton Hill, but he has the athletic ability pretty much in every way, other than the fact that he's just not as smooth agility wise. He's agile. It's just Daxton Hill is elite in every category: explosion, speed, and agility. And Percy Butler doesn't necessarily have that to that extent, but he is agile, he is explosive, and he's very, very fast, elite speed. And then after we drafted him, Chris Sims immediately, and he's not even tweeting about every pick, but he immediately tweeted about us taking Percy Butler. He said the Commanders got the best pure free safety in NFL draft in Percy Butler. Dude has tremendous range in center field. He is very good in all areas of coverage, let alone he has 3 rockets up his butt and can fly. He is not all coverage. He is a very good tackler too. And I mean, what I would say with that, from what I've seen on film, he's a really good tackler when he wants to be. Because sometimes he just thinks that he can just come down there and put a shoulder into people and that's going to be it. I'm gonna need him to wrap up more often. But when he goes and actually tries to use real, actual textbook tackling technique, he is a really good tackler. You just need to coach him up and get him to do that consistently, because again, he just has those moments on tape where he just thinks he can just go in there with a shoulder like he's Sean Taylor or something and tackle a guy like that, and then he ends up missing the tackle that way. So use your arms, Percy Butler, and you may be one of the biggest steals in the draft, especially at safety specifically. And NFLDraftBuzz.com, they're like a really low-key website that, like, the way they break down players, I love it. I mean, of course, I watch my own film and I disagree with them in a lot of ways, but I just love the way they break things down. And in general, they're basically saying every way that they describe him as far as strengths and weaknesses, he's just basically baby, or if you want to say it as unproven Daxton Hill. So I'm really excited about this pick. When we first took him, I was like, I mean, I knew about him, but I didn't watch a lot of film on him because I didn't expect us to take him. And then immediately after we took him, after I was done live streaming, after we took Sam Howell and Cole Turner, went and watched some tape right before I started my Sam Howell video, and I'm definitely starting to warm up to this pick even more. Now, when we first got him, I was excited because I already knew he was like a high ceiling boomer bust type of guy that at the very least as a floor is going to be an elite special teams coverage player. And with us playing it safe the first 3 picks, I was so excited that we finally went after ceiling with the 4th pick. But after really looking into this and watching more film on him and reading about him from trustworthy sources, it sounds like we may have gotten a steal in round 4 with Percy Butler. And again, I could see him coming here to replace Troy Apke if they just really don't want to keep Troy Apke anymore. But if you want to have 2 elite gunners where a special teams return game, they don't know which one to focus on, somebody's going to make it every time, Troy Apke or Percy Butler. And with Tress Way punting, we're going to be field position flipping gods. I'm down, man. I'm down for that. Keep Troy Apke, keep this guy, and let them run. And just coach him up to become baby Daxton Hill. I'm down. Again, I don't want to say that. I don't want to get everybody's hopes up. You know, I'm Mr. Optimistic, but even so, I'm not going to compare him to Daxton Hill yet. But there's definitely some traits there. Again, not guaranteeing it. Don't want people to get too excited. But the potential is there. It's definitely a boomer bust high ceiling pick. And again, I mean, depending on what you consider bust, with this floor being an elite secondary player. And granted, you don't necessarily take those in the 4th round, but he's going to contribute no matter what in some way, shape, or form as early as week 1. Now moving to Sam Howell. And this pick is really fun. This is another going after ceiling pick. We played it safe day 1 and 2. We said day 3, forget all of that. We're coming out and drafting straight ceiling. And like I keep saying, you pay your coaches millions of dollars, and the majority of your job description, the primary reason that you are a coach is player development. There's a lot of other stuff too. There's, you know, plays, play calling, personnel groupings, a lot of different stuff. But the main priority of a coach of any position group of any level is to develop players. And so it's like you're paying these guys millions of dollars. If you're just going to draft for high floor guys the whole way, what are you paying your coaches to do? So I'm comfortable with how we spent the first 3 picks and how we played it safe at those. If you're looking at it in Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew's eyes, we're playing it safe. We're just trying to get guys that we know for a fact will not miss. We're getting strong contributors week 1, whether they're starters or rotational pieces. They're going to play week 1. They're going to contribute and play very well for us. Don't necessarily have the highest ceilings, but we know what we're getting, and we're aiming to basically be a 10-win, make the playoffs team, like 5th, 6th, or 7th seed. If that's what you have in mind, those first 3 picks are literally as good as it gets. They're perfect. But I'm really happy that going into day 3, we were like, all right, now we have a nice solid foundation of depth, rotational pieces, some, you know, week 1 starters that we can bring along at several positions. Now we're going for ceiling. We got Percy Butler, who again could potentially be Daxton Hill. Some people compare him to even potentially being like a Devin McCourty, which is who people compare Daxton Hill to. So all of it adds up. And then you go and get Sam Howell, who has a pretty high ceiling himself. And I've already done a whole video breaking down Sam Howell specifically, so I'm not going to talk about him too far. But I just love, I'm trying to tie him in as far as the entire draft and how we went after Percy Butler and then went right back to going after ceiling with Sam Howell. And you know, there's a lot of guys that are really high on Sam Howell, of course. Like NFLDraftBuzz.com says, Howell was an obvious first rounder at the end of 2020. But 2021 has had a major impact on his draft stock where he hadn't looked even remotely as impressive. But, and then this is me speaking, his team was terrible. Top 2 running backs left, top 2 receivers left. And now, granted, he's been reunited with one of them in Dyami Brown, probably his favorite one. And so they're both really excited about that. And I think that's going to help him look. First of all, training camp, the chemistry between Sam Howell and Dyami Brown is going to be better chemistry than Carson Wentz has with any burgundy and gold receiver. So at the beginning of training camp, we're going to definitely see some rumblings of, should Sam Howell start? No. Carson Wentz is not even threatened by Sam Howell as of right now, unless there's an injury. And even then, I believe Taylor Heineke is easily quarterback 2 on the depth chart. But when Sam Howell looks good in training camp, picking up that chemistry right where they left off with Dyami Brown, and Carson struggling to find chemistry with Terry McLaurin and all of these new receivers he's never thrown to in his life, even though Terry McLaurin is easily the best receiver he's ever thrown to in his life. And we're going to talk about Cole Turner because they basically got him to be Zach Ertz for Carson Strong and potentially Sam Howell as well. So I think that's a great pick. We're going to talk about that soon. But I definitely see there being some quarterback controversy amongst fans. Not the coaches, not the front office, but amongst fans, I can definitely see it. Early training camp, Sam Howell looking really good throwing to Dyami Brown. Carson Strong missing on Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin and Cam Sims of these guys. There's going to be some rumblings for sure. But yeah, man, Sam Howell, again, like I spoke about in my video in further detail, he's going to compete with Taylor Heinicke snaps-wise in practice and throughout the offseason, training camp, and all of that. But career trajectory-wise, he's directly competing with Carson Wentz for sure. Not exactly this season, but over long term for sure, because I feel like Taylor Heinicke is probably going to be our dependable backup for like the next at least 5+ years. I don't think he's going anywhere backup wise. Carson Wentz is honestly the person that's more likely to end up not being on this team going forward, especially since, I mean, he's being paid $28 million. If we wanted to create cap space, if we really wanted to pay Terry McLaurin right now, if we wanted to keep Daron Payne and all of these guys, Tim Settle, Matt Ioannidis, so you wouldn't have to draft defensive tackle in the second, you would restructure Carson Wentz's contract if you truly believed he was a franchise quarterback already to spread some of that money over the course of the next couple of years. They haven't. They want to keep that out right there just in case Carson Wentz doesn't work. They want to be able to just cut him next year with no dead cap. So he's really a temporary option right now. He's really technically on a prove it deal. And so if he doesn't work out, you have Taylor Heinicke as your backup. Sam Howell is your future franchise quarterback. I can see that happening. Of course, we want Carson Wentz to go out there and ball out so all of them picks that we traded away could be worth it. And again, the fact that we're not paying our own guys or even getting guys in free agency. Carson Wentz is the reason we're not going after guys like Tyrann Mathieu. It's the reason we're struggling to pay Eric Flowers. I hope after the draft we bring him back as soon as the draft ends. Like literally the moment we turn in our second, 7th round pick, go sign Eric Flowers right then. Please bring him back for cheap. Even same thing with Landon Collins. If you're comfortable bringing him back, if he's comfortable with it, bringing him back for extremely cheap, go ahead and do it, please. And then lastly, we picked up Cole Turner, tight end from Nevada. And to me, he's basically slightly less blocking strength, but definitely far better catch radius. Well, I won't say far better, but noticeably better catch radius, John Bates. Remember how much we loved John Bates last year? Well, just imagine that with a little bit more yak, a good amount more of catch radius and hands, a little bit smoother athlete. I don't expect him to necessarily get open on his own, but it's only like 3 to 5 tight ends maybe at the NFL level who can actually do that for real. Most of these guys are schemed open anyway, so I never really look for that in a tight end prospect. It would be nice to have, but it's not necessary. And again, he's not a bad blocker, but he's definitely not the blocker of John Bates coming out of college. As Cole Turner is coming out of college for Nevada, he was a very dependable target for Carson Strong, which I'm surprised. I thought we were going to take Carson Strong and then Cole Turner. And so we got Cole Turner basically for Carson Wentz. Not Carson Strong, Carson Wentz. We tried so hard to get Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz decided to stay with the Cardinals. And then the Cardinals hated because they went and drafted Trey McBride. I'm like, bro, leave some tight ends for the rest of us, please. We out here struggling. Logan Thomas may not even be healthy by week 1. Sammis Reyes, who knows if he's going to even be ready to play week 1 as far as like being raw. Ricky Seals-Jones went to the Giants. So as of right now, John Bates is our only quality starting tight end we have for week 1 until we took Cole Turner. I can definitely literally see John Bates and Cole Turner running 12 personnel until Sammis Reyes is up to speed and Logan Thomas is healthy. Cole Turner can be that dependable target. Carson Wentz loves big targets. Zach Ertz, even Alshon Jeffrey, who, you know, I guess Cam Sims hopes he's that for Carson Wentz, but he mostly loved to throw to his tight ends like Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. Cole Turner and John Bates can be those guys. If I had to compare the two, I would say John Bates is more like Dallas Goedert. I would say Cole Turner is more like Zach Ertz. Not saying that Cole Turner is going to be Zach Ertz, especially like as a 5th rounder. There's a reason he made it this far in the draft, but I think he's that type of player. He's going to be that type of player for Carson Wentz at least this year, maybe in the future, and Sam Howell in the further future. And at 6'6", with how big he is, running a 4.7, he has some yak ability. He can get open deep. He definitely has an ability to get open deep more than John Bates does. So he's basically John Bates, more receiving potential, but a little less blocking. But if I had to grade both players coming out of college, I would actually grade Cole Turner a little bit higher. But I loved what I saw from John Bates last year with the running people over and the sure hands and stuff like that. I'm not going to necessarily say Cole Turner is better than John Bates already, but when they were both coming out of college, when we drafted John Bates last year and when we just drafted Cole Turner, comparing college prospects, I like Cole Turner better. And John Bates turned out really well. And I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to certain position groups with this team, they deserve the benefit of the doubt. With tight end and offensive line, for sure, we deserve the benefit of the doubt. We're going to get the most out of guys. They're going to be better for us than they were with their previous teams, or they're going to go from college making certain mistakes, having certain weaknesses, to those being masked away, or they're going to become a strength. Our tight end coaching staff, our offensive line coaching staff is just that good. They're some of the best in the NFL. So I believe in Cole Turner and John Bates becoming really good tight ends. And then when Logan Thomas comes back healthy, that's just going to be even better. But yeah, man. And one last thought on Sam Howell. His year when he was going super crazy and everybody thought he was going to be a definitive like top 15 pick in the draft whenever he was eligible, they were throwing the ball more. They had more running backs. They had just better weapons, period. Once everybody left, and this his junior year just now, no weapons, he had to turn into a runner. And he ended up being really good at it, but that wasn't his original plan when he committed to North Carolina, when he became their starting quarterback. So I like the fact that whatever they asked him to do, whatever they needed the most, Sam Howell was willing to adjust to that. I feel like that's a very underrated part of his game. He was not a runner at first. He didn't want to be just running RPO and trying to run in between the tackles to get touchdowns and stuff like that. That became an adjustment because their running game was just so poor. And so I respect that. I respect that a lot. I highly covet that. I'm not necessarily saying he's going to be a dominant runner at the next level at all, especially with him being 6 feet. I don't want him running too much. I want that to be a part of his game, but I don't want it to be the primary thing like you can do with Malik Willis, because I'm afraid of him getting hurt and getting banged up. Not as afraid as I am with Matt Corral potentially getting hurt, but it's still kind of like, you know, watch out. Don't do it too much. But I just wanted to point that out to say, like, whatever you need him to do, Sam Howell's going to do. If you need him to run the ball, even though it's not necessarily the thing he wanted to do initially at first, maybe now after doing it so much, maybe he does like it more. But when he came to North Carolina, he was not trying to run the ball in between the tackles and run the RPO and actually keep it as much as he did and as much as he had to do his junior year. So, man, I hate the fact that he is called a running quarterback. Even though I don't necessarily love Howell, I'm really excited about his potential, but I'm not one of those people that's super high on Howell that was willing to take him in the first round like a lot of people were. But there are some people out there that just feels like he's just a running quarterback and that's it. And I feel like that's not fair, because he showed you earlier in his college career he could be a really good thrower when he has weapons. And then just by demand, he had to become a runner, because who else was going to run the ball for North Carolina after everybody left? But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like if you liked it. If you learned anything, definitely get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about all of these draft picks. Do you agree with me with these certain comps? Do you agree with me as far as these being really good picks and not being reaches, but actually being pretty good steals, and how these guys will contribute early on in their rookie seasons, what their role is for the team, all of that? And definitely be on the lookout for more content. I'm about to do a breakdown and review of our 7th round after it's done. I'm about to edit this video, put that out, and then I'm going to talk about those 7th round guys. And then maybe tomorrow or the day after that, I'm going to do a complete draft breakdown. So stay tuned for all of that. I mean, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. Man, I really appreciate y'all. Catch y'all later. I'm out.